this looks better.
Yeah, I feel like I was licking up my nose.
It's fun. It's like all the buttons have changed, so it's like training an old dog new tricks here. So
it's a lot of crazy technical stuff, huh? Just having to arrange get all this because of the call-in and everything. It's not easy to do, I don't think, right? I mean, there's a lot of
and the call-in's not going to work tonight because for some reason it's not reading that mic over there. So I'll post in the post if people want to join by video. That works too.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
If they're shy, they can just just turn their camera off.
Right. Or they could also, can they comment too? Can they
Yeah, definitely.
So they can join the chat. Yeah.
So
that's good.
I'll post the link in the comment thing right now. So
okay.
I watch Deborah tortured every week trying to get all the equipment.
I know it's a lot of technical stuff. Here it is.
I'm shocked. I would be crying. I would just cry because the frustration level is so high,
back in my pre-law days, I used to, I don't know if you remember when Ma Bell broke up.
Yes,
because it was
I do.
So one of the companies that came was called Honeywell.
Yeah.
And so I was a quality control analyst. And so I'd go all over the state of Texas and look at computer boards to make sure all the wires worked and to look at all this stuff. So I've kind of been in the field before and plus, have taken a lot of stuff since then. But still, I hear you, Granny. It gets so frustrating, especially when I turn things on and they don't work anymore. It's like,
if I had to do that every day for a job, I wouldn't get out of bed.
Well, yeah. Well, it's weird, with technology. It seems like technology is supposed to make life easier, but it has all these other problems built into it, like the constant changing of everything all the time. I mean, I wish they could I get it. They're trying to evolve the technology, but it's sort of like you just get used to it one way and then it kind of like does, and it's constant. It's annoying. I guess it keeps us on our toes, but.
Well, StreamYard's got this new thing now about you record a video and then at the end of the video, rather than being able to end the recording and continue to talk to the person that you have on there, this thing pops up and tries to get you to do AI clips or something.
Oh yeah, a lot of stuff is a lot of things are doing that. Zoom's doing that too. A lot of that going on. Everybody wants to get into the AI.
Speaking of AI and speaking of adjusting to technology, first things first, for when I get this, I'm using Podbeam, so I'll be able to have this streaming to like 4 or 5 different like podcasts.
Oh, good.
Audio
good. Stuff. That's good.
But so that our audience that will be hearing only audio knows who's who. We'll just say our names.
Oh, right.
I'm Denise. Helen, Irish Granny Helen.
I'm Denise Siegel. Hey, Denise.
and my friend Laura that likes to come on. She's kind of sick with. There's some weird cold.
There's so much stuff going on. Oh my God! Yeah, there's so much going around. It's crazy.
Yeah.
There's the flu. There's COVID. There's colds. It's endless. Yeah.
Oh, or you could have a little dysentery.
Oh God! Yeah.
I can't believe that. She just told me about it today. But I guess dysentery is happening. There's an outbreak in Portland. It's really weird.
Dysentery is actually the symptom. It's bloody diarrhea.
Right.
The words, but it can be caused by a number.
It's usually by bacteria, isn't it, or a virus, like something
or an amoeba.
Right, amoeba. Yeah, yeah. Not good. Not good.
No.
But speaking of adjusting to technology. And also using AI, this is probably one of the worst amateur videos, but I thought it was hilariously funny.
Okay, cool.
This is 100 years ago. People just started getting radios, right?
Right.
What I'm going to do is play a video story. So I looked at all kinds of newspapers this time, and I put it together as a video that we can watch. And it's
okay.
But some of it is just hysterical because you can tell the AI is really bad.
Okay.
But I'm easily entertained. So here we go with this.
Okay.
Have his own broadcasting station and receiving set. That's what Fritz Kuhns, an occultist of Udyar, India, said eventually will come to pass through the development of mankind's telepathic powers, in his 1922 lecture, Psychic Wireless. Welcome to another wild journey into the past. Tonight, we unravel one of the most bizarre, hilarious, and utterly unhinged obsessions of the 1920s, psychic radio.
We're receiving letters from all over the country. People claim they're being harassed by psychic radio threats.
By 1925, things had escalated. People weren't just talking about psychic radio anymore. They were flooding the US government with complaints.
Like ghosts?
Oh, not just ghosts. We've got reports of hellhounds, spectral voices, and even a wicked mastermind broadcasting worldwide destruction.
One complainant, a well-known New York woman, demanded a government investigation, claiming she had received threatening messages via psychic radio for 6 months. The Department of Commerce got so many complaints about ghosts on the radio that they actually had to consider investigating. And folks, it gets better. In Minneapolis, some people believed that psychic radio wasn't just for ghosts and demons, it was also leaking their private arguments to the neighborhood.
I think some enemy has concealed a microphone in our home, so that everything we say is broadcast to neighbors. We have searched the house but can't locate any microphone. Just the same, the neighbors are all talking. What can we do? It's getting so we are almost afraid to quarrel. Whether someone has placed a microphone in the house or not, some enemy, in some way, is plotting to wreck our home life.
After an investigation, police dismissed the claim, but psychic radio complaints continued to be filed. In May 1925, H.F. Dunn of Indianapolis lodged a formal complaint with J.E. Hoover, head of the Bureau of Investigation of the Department of Justice.
Unidentified forces are seeking to spread Bolshevism and anarchy through the United States by psychic radio. I represent victims of the secret or psychic broadcasting stations. You mean to find the broadcasters of red propaganda and put them out of business.
Dunn also disclosed that supernatural manifestations marked the operation of the secret broadcasters. Officials at the department said they were not psychic researchers. They eventually pigeonholed Dunn's complaint. Professor John Spearing, metaphysician of Hawaii, weighed in, getting his share of the news articles in the summer of 1925.
I noticed that a group of Indianapolis people have sent an attorney to Washington with a request that the Department of Justice investigate alleged threats from psychic radio. In some instances, one who receives a radio threat is guilty of some offense, which makes him susceptible to a veiled hint that he should improve his conduct. If a man's life is clean, let him laugh and turn off the radio when messages annoy him. Granted, for the sake of argument, that a wandering spirit might have power to speak over radio, then any red-blooded, clean-minded American citizen should have strength of mind enough to resist the vague mouthings of a disembodied fool.
That same summer, New York City radio station WGBS decided to get into the action.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to conduct a grand experiment. The California Ramblers Orchestra will now perform 3 songs, using only their minds. Now, if anyone at home thinks they hear music, let us know.
The listeners were asked to send in their reactions. Some people did report hearing the songs. And others? Well, they weren't just listening for psychic radio. They were broadcasting it. A group of spiritualists operated a psychic radio station from 106 Loomis Street in Chicago, 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 7 p.m.
I can get well. I will get well. I must get well.
That's right. This was essentially a psychic self-help station where listeners were told to focus their minds on healing. No microphones. No speakers. Just pure thought waves. But guess what? The psychic radio hysteria isn't just a relic of the past. Let's not forget the 1971 case Robinson vs. ABC, where tobacco farmers sued TV networks for airing anti-smoking messages, claiming it was secret propaganda harming their business. In 2019, a woman sued the Department of Defense claiming she had been implanted with an MK-Ultra mind control device that was broadcasting subliminal messages into her brain. The case is called Fuller versus Department of Defense. And in 2021, a man sued Nike because he believed their animated commercial contained subliminal anti-Semitic and terroristic imagery that affected viewers on a subconscious level. But folks, going back to the 1920s, nothing tops what happened in 1928. Dr. Mansfield Robinson, a devoted psychic, announced he was sending a radio message to Mars.
Tomorrow, my mysterious message will be transmitted to a Martian woman. She has oversized ears.
Here's what the news account stated.
Dr. Robinson's little telegram will be sent out by the central office in London via the Rugby wireless station, whence it will be dispatched automatically into space on a wavelength of 18,700 meters. Radio engineers at St. Albans will listen in for half an hour on a 30,000-meter wavelength for a reply from the warlike planet. Officials say hoax replies are hardly probable on such a wavelength. Robinson, who professes to have held telepathic communication with a young woman in Mars, has described her graphically. One peculiarity of the Martians, he says, is oversized ears.
And that, my friends, is the history of 1920s psychic radio.
Man, that reminds me of 5G.
Yeah, wasn't that was just a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Reminds me of the 5G freak out. And it also reminds me of the stuff that people getting all worked up about. I can't remember the name of it. It's not Noah, but it's like those stations like that are like weather stations that monitor weather, and they think that they're sending out things. I mean, it just goes to show. It's interesting because radio was new back then, right? And so
it just come out. So
So people's imagination kind of went wild with that, I mean, you see how it happens now. It's like with technology. I don't know if you remember during the first part of like the 2010s and stuff like that into the 2020, like from 2010 to about 2020, there was a proliferation of stuff on YouTube, all about MK Ultra and all these things, and people getting, and Philip, you ever read any Philip K. Dick? The novelist Philip K. Dick, who wrote
Minority Report.
He wrote even Android from Electric Sheep and all that. He writes a lot of stuff like kind of paranoid sort of psychic stuff like that. And this gets into a really good point, I think, between what is imagination and what is psychic, and kind of they're in the same pool, but one side is in the deep end and one side, or whatever you want to put it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Are people using their imagination, or what they're really doing, tuning into the ether?
Well,
exactly. And like you were saying before, Helen, about like we're all in this soup kind of thing, but yet there's like this electrical charge. And so you wonder, which part, maybe some people actually respond that way, thinking that there's ghosts. But I remember in high school, I think it was this big thing. And in the church, they were just like screaming about it. How if you play rock music backwards, the records,
that was like, a common thing. It was the devil was like, I remember that. Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because also, I was wondering, are they talking about, like, it seemed like it kind of ran a big gamut. Like, is it people listening to the radio and thinking they hear voices in the radio, or is it people who think that the radio is putting stuff in their head? Or is it all of that stuff,
all of the above.
Right.
And where the movie started, this lecturer in India, I read a little bit of his stuff, but I just didn't have time to really go into that. But he was saying, it was kind of interesting. In 1922, he was saying this is going to come, but eventually people will kind of be like their own psychic station because they're going to get more like in tune. He said, but before you do that, you have to, kind of like what you say, Denise, have your spiritual ducks in a row and be grounded in that way. And am I echoing?
A little bit. Not. I don't think it's that noticeable.
Okay. I'm having mic problems. So in any event, thank you. He was warning that
you're getting distracted. You're getting distracted by it, but it's not that bad on my end.
So anyway, he was warning that could actually be a danger as these things come, that a lot of people who are not grounded or have their spirituality in place would be susceptible to kind of going mad from this stuff. And
interesting.
So I think he will be an interesting.
Well, look at what's happening.
More on him. Exactly. And and now
look what's going on with social media.
Yes. And the thing is, and it's
I think that's what that is.
It is. And, I probably live in one of the few places in the United States that doesn't have cameras everywhere on the streets. You drive everywhere and there's cameras watching you. And then when you become aware of how many devices that we're all sort of watched or participating in or whatever, it's even this little town here. It's like you don't know if you should say hi to somebody because everyone's got those little white
the earbuds in their ears.
And so you don't know if they're aware or not. Remember a couple of years ago, they were talking about these people that were just staring at their phones, getting in accidents. And
it's still happening. Oh yeah, it's happening all the time. In fact, there's a law in Tennessee that if people don't know this, but they passed a law a few years ago because so many people were getting in accidents that if you are actually seen touching your phone, they can take you to jail. And they give you a $500 fine. Because there's so many accidents caused from cell phones.
And let me tell you something really scary. I walk almost every day, and I've done a little informal study of this. I would say 90% to 95% of the people who drive past me are looking down at their phones while they're driving.
That's scary. I see, I drop off my kid at school, and the kids are walking down the street with their on their phones, and they're not paying attention to walking across. It's really bad. It's quite bad.
I saw a young woman pushing a baby stroller with her elbows so she could use her hands on her phone.
Oh my God! It was a few years ago. I'm starting to sound like my grandparents, so now I can't think of it.
Yeah, right. I
know. In my day.
But anyway, I do remember it was like 10 years ago, maybe, where NPR had done this. It was around Thanksgiving. They have real interesting shows, and one of them was about this family. And so here all these people traveled, and they meet, for Thanksgiving.
And they're all on their devices?
And they're all on their phones, not talking to each other.
Wow.
This house.
Yeah, or you go to dinner and you see people doing that. Their whole family are sitting on their phone. It's like, you guys are paying to hang out together and you're on your phones. I don't see it. I think, some people are trying to make a conscientious sort of effort to not do that. But you really have to. I don't personally, I'm not glued to my phone all the time.
Me neither.
I'm not really one of those people. I think it's really not great to do that. I think it's, you're not being grounded in reality or in your environment. And I think you're missing a lot if you do that. The internet's always going to be there. You don't, there's nothing that important that you need to be on your phone all day long for,
Exactly.
I carry my phone with me because, it's cheaper than one of those Lifeline things. I just
wait. Do you hear? Is her mic sound weird to you, Deborah? Does she sound weird?
A little bit? Yeah. I was thinking it was me. Maybe it's
now it's you. Is it me? Is it me, or I don't hear myself sounding weird? But something's going on. Like there's interference happening. Do you hear it?
It's the psychic.
Probably
radio.
The demons. Yeah.
It's the
demons in the radio. You shouldn't be tempting them, Deborah, with this story. You shouldn't be.
Did I echo when I laughed or not?
Yeah, you know what? Do you guys hear the weird that whole thing going on.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and
that's
I can't
weird.
figure out where it's coming from.